Welcome to the Ringer Fantasy. Oh my God, the voice crack. Oh no.
That was
You've been going hard lately on the intros. I think your vocal cords aren't ready for it.
We're at 4 a week.
Dude,
and now
it's
my
week
voice
2.
just gave out. I think we're going to have to keep that. All right. Should I just do it again?
No, keep it.
Start the pod.
We're in now.
Start the
No,
pod.
I'm going to do
here.
it again though. All right, everyone. All right, well, you know what? That's the difference between this show and every other. Everyone else would have cut that, and now I'm just going to do it live.
Not
Everyone
us.
else here. Let's do. All right, let's see if this happens. Okay, gather strength.
People love bloopers. I like watching the bloopers of The Office more than The Office.
Yeah. All right. I hope I have give me the strength. Welcome to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. My name is Danny Heifetz, and I am joined by Danny Kelly and Craig Horlbeck. And today I made it through that second try. Let's go, baby. We're looking at week 2 of the NFL season.
Yeah.
Craig, how you feeling about week 2?
Week 2 is the weirdest week of the NFL, in my opinion, because you only have 1 week to form all of your opinions. It's like heavy recency bias. What do we say? Anchoring? Like everything is anchored to week 1. And I feel like if you're a betting man, which I am, a lot of bets in week 2 I bet you they are just so skewed to week 1. Like all the lines look wrong. If anything looks weird, you're like, oh my God, how is this the case? This team just killed it in week 1, or this team just got killed in week 1. But I went back last year and I looked at week 1 and week 2. And it's just funny to see how things change. In week 1 last year, the Bengals lost to the Browns 24-3. And then the next week, they had a nail biter against the Ravens, lost by 3. Last year in week 1, the Steelers got killed by the Niners 30-7. The next week, they beat the Browns on Monday Night Football. Last year, week 1, the Lions beat the Chiefs in the season opener. I don't know if you remember that. In Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Then lost at home to the Seahawks the week after. The Packers blew out the Bears. And then they lost to Desmond Ridder the next game. So just something to keep in mind as we head into week 2. All right. We haven't figured everything out just yet.
What about like an expression, something like every given Sunday, there's something weird is going to happen? What could we like workshop a term that could explain that?
We could write like a movie about it even, I feel like.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. And then spin that off to like a talk show on HBO. What do you think?
Write that down.
Yeah, but we'd have to change the name, the day.
Keep my voice crack, but cut that out because someone's going to take that idea.
Right.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Boom. All right. Let's just get into week 2 here. All right. We have the game of the year.
This is the game of the year, I think.
This is the game of the year. The Chiefs are playing the Bengals, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. We got the
Thanks for that.
Well, we got the Jim Nance Tony Romo. No, we got the Jimmy Nance Tony Romo. It's like the treatment for this game. It's the only one in the window, or really, it's the only real one. But Chiefs are home. Chiefs are favored by 5.5. Implied score of the game by the betting market is Chiefs 27, Bengals 21. These teams fucking hate each other. And I feel like there aren't that many games actually anymore, like that you go in and you're like, God, wow, these teams hate each other. But they really hate each other.
They really do.
Love a good grudge match.
The one of the cornerbacks for the Bengals, Cam Taylor-Britt, was interviewed and asked about Xavier Worthy, the receiver on the Chiefs. And they were like, so what does Worthy bring to the table in your opinion? And he was like, speed, that's about it. He can run straight, but jet sweeps, I guess. But yeah, he pretty much just runs straight. What is he, 100-something pounds? Yeah. Not a big issue.
What is he, 100-something pounds? That's so good.
Yeah, what is he, 100-something pounds is insane. And the other thing he said, oh no, did my voice, oh God, it's going to go again in this episode, I can tell.
I think your body's changing.
Yeah, oh no. Is it, yeah, we don't, so there's puberty or 13. And
they
then
have books to explain about that stuff.
Yeah. Send me, yeah. God.
I can send it to you.
Well, I'm almost 30, so I might, I would have been dead right now if I was a caveman. Anyway, So the other thing the cornerback for the Bengals said is if you put your hands on Xavier Worthy, you'll stop the speed. So you just put hands on him. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah.
That's not that easy, guy.
Yeah. Thank God it's so easy. I'm dead serious when I say this. I'm dead ass serious. I think we should actually move Xavier Worthy higher in our rankings because there's no
this?
Patrick Mahomes is so fucking petty. And the Chiefs, like, first of all, the Bengals hate the Chiefs. Jamar Chase was asked about the best quarterbacks in the NFL over the summer, and he literally wouldn't say Patrick Mahomes' name. Like, he wouldn't say it out loud. And then I genuinely believe that Patrick Mahomes he was 4th in the NFL 100 and not 1st. I genuinely believe it's because of the Bengals. And the Bengals voted against him. I bet Mahomes believes that. And also,
it's a conspiracy.
Dude, that's the easiest conspiracy there is. But also, if you're the Chiefs, I'm serious. I think the Chiefs genuinely are going to go I think Mahomes will go out of his way to try to get Worthy a touchdown after this. I'm dead serious.
This is why you don't do stuff like this. Like, this is such a rookie move by this corner.
It really is. It's why
this?
Mahomes compliments all the dudes that sack him.
Yeah.
Because he knows it's going to come back around and bite him in the ass if you're just a dick all the time.
Dude, they'll do anything. Like when the Patriots played the Eagles in the Super Bowl like 20 years ago, Belichick the Eagles were really disciplined an Andy Reid team. The Eagles were really disciplined about not talking shit, but the Philly Inquirer ran a story that the Eagles parade route had been planned, but, by the city, because, the city should be planning that more than 2 days in advance. Belichick read the route to them that Philly was going to take if they won the Super Bowl, and he got the players a lamb. It's like, dude, they'll do anything. When a player comes out and says, your first round pick is ass, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, so it's crazy.
What is he, 100-something pounds?
100-something pounds, yeah.
What did he finish, dead last?
Yeah.
I'm going to start saying this for everything. What is he, 100-something pounds?
The other thing with this game, Joe Burrow and the wrist with the Bengals. Like, the Bengals came out lost to the Patriots
this wrist
last week.
situation is just getting out of hand.
Did you guys hear about Watergate?
Oh my God. Water Bottle Gate.
I think it's called Watergate. This is a bigger deal.
That's a really good name. I like that.
Once again, we're coming up with great names on this pod today.
The branding for Watergate. Yeah, I love
If
that.
only I could voice crack right in the bottle of Water Bottle Gate. That'd be really good.
Okay. Can I explain what's going on with this water bottle thing? So there was a highlight reel. It's like a reel of Joe Burrow like flexing his wrist a bunch during the game and like, squeezing his hand and basically showing the discomfort with his wrist. And then at the end, he picks up a water bottle and drinks it. And
that's on the bench. He's in the huddle massaging and moving his wrist around. Yeah. And then he goes and sits on the bench. And then he's looking at his wrist. He looks down to the right. He grabs a big Gatorade water bottle, like those big, tall green ones. And he kind of picks it up, and halfway up, he kind of repositions it in his hand, brings it over, and then has to kind of use his left hand to like help refit it in his right hand, and then he takes a drink, and everyone's freaking out that like either this is the heaviest Gatorade bottle of all time or Joe Burrow's cooked.
I watched it like 10 times, and I was like, I don't know what people are reacting to. I like truly don't know what people are scared about, because there was like, if you look at the comments for that tweet, it was like half of the comments were like, what are you talking about? What am I looking at? And then half of the people were like, he is cooked. Like, it was like you remember the green dress, or sorry, the gold dress versus the blue dress thing. And like, depending on,
it was gold and white or blue and black.
Yeah.
Right?
And so like people would see it differently for whatever reason. I can't remember the scientific explanation for it, but like I this is like the new one of those. I honestly can't tell what people are concerned about. I understand like the wrist flexing thing, but I watched him pick up that water bottle about 15 times. I was like, I don't know what to see. I don't know what I'm supposed to be seeing here.
This reminds me of Spitgate. Do you guys remember during the press run-up to Don't Worry, Darling, the Olivia Wilde directed movie starring Harry Styles and Chris Pine? Yeah, Harry Styles at a screening of the movie, or maybe the premiere even, he was shuffling past Chris Pine in the movie theater aisle. And as he passes Chris Pine, it kind of looks like he spits on Chris Pine's lap. And then Chris Pine looks down at his really lap.
Like subtly. And
then Harry shuffles by and sits down, and everybody thought he spit on Chris Pine's lap. One, it did look like Harry spit on Chris Pine's lap. And in Watergate, I think Joe Burrow did labor to pick up that water bottle.
See,
I think he did use his left hand to support the right hand.
He labored to pick up.
I actually believe that. I think it's real.
Yeah.
I think he picked up that water bottle kind of weirdly.
The Bengals like tweeted his response to the water bottle gate like later that day.
Yeah.
He was like, "What? I picked it up weird." Like what are you talking about?
The Bengals tweeted the response. And honestly, all I could think was the top reply on the tweet was, why does hair look like a porcupine? And I was like, damn, it does look like a porcupine. Kind of forgot everything he said. But I don't remember if it was Joe Burrow or Shannon Sharp who said this week that was just me being a healthy, active male.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Should we get into that?
Yeah, but I think that's Joe Burrow. He's just a healthy, active male. There's nothing to see here. I don't know why people make
He's
such
so
a big
cooked.
Deal. Yeah, healthy, active male. Totally normal.
He's cooked. So many people like tagged us in this tweet. I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at.
Bengals fans hate us because all offseason, Heifetz, a little bit of me have been on that. We should be very
Burrow's cooked.
Yeah, that Burrow, not that Burrow's cooked, but like this is a worrisome situation. Right. And I got to be honest, the water bottle thing didn't look great to me.
Can I clarify?
It's a Rorschach test.
I love the Bengals. Dude, the NFL is way better. Fuck, my voice. All right, this is there. Joe Burrow should start making fun of my voice. But like, the NFL's better when the Chiefs and the Bengals go head to head. The Bengals are the only team that wasn't Tom Brady that has actually beaten the Chiefs like multiple times in games that mattered.
Burrow's like one of the best 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks in the league, of course. And he's awesome. He's like the coolest quarterback in the league as well.
He's the
you guys fucking
man.
hate him.
Fuck that guy. No, it brings me no joy that Joe Burrow. I'm just saying, I just feel a little nuts.
Very untrue. I feel like you have taken quite a bit of joy in this.
I do. No, I really don't. I just feel a little nuts that like Joe Burrow has an unprecedented wrist injury and everyone pretended like it was totally normal. Like you know what I mean? It's just throwing wrist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I understand. This water bottle thing is absolutely unhinged, though. I can't.
The water bottle, I
can't get behind it.
It's a little, it's weird.
Watch it Watergate. A 16th time, DK.
It's
Watergate
like
any given Sunday.
Like tape.
Into
the right. Back into the right.
Try to recreate that situation at home. Pick up a water bottle.
Maybe it was just a weird angle. I don't know.
I have a water bottle right here. Okay, wait. So what he did was he kind of went like this, and then he went like this.
And he like kind of
right?
he went threw it up to himself a little bit, slid it up his hands.
I think it was
like a normal human boy.
On the pickup, the angle of his wrist was painful, so he had to quickly switch it and then stabilize with the left.
Yeah, we should do the JFK thing.
This thing is so fucking. This is unhinged. This is so unhinged.
Fantasy. I think you played Jamar Chase. T. Higgins. I don't know if he's going to play. The Bengals are kind of a mess until this gets better. I mean, it's like every year. It's like the first 2 weeks we should almost tattoo ourselves to never deal with the Bengals in the first week.
I know. I mean, this is a real Costanza. Like I mapped out all the things that changed between week 1 and week 2. I will say that like even though despite all that stuff, I'm like, man, I really want to bet the Chiefs in this game. But if you want to Costanza it, I mean, I don't think anybody is taking the Bengals in this game.
Yeah. This is like a terrible. I feel bad for the Bengals, honestly, and like I'm worried that I've been on like the Burrow's gonna be fine train because I feel like this is gonna be a rough game for the Bengals.
It is a huge. As much as the Bengals start 0-2 all the time, this game matters a lot
all the time.
They do.
Yeah.
This game means as much to the Bengals as any game's going to mean all year. If we're being
There's
honest.
too many good matchups to start the year.
Yeah.
We gotta backload the season with great matchups. Everyone sucks in the beginning. I don't want to see Burrow and Mahomes now. I want to see that in week 12.
Craig's like make football.
Gotta
worse.
ease in a little bit.
Yeah.
They have
some foreplay.
They have Mahomes and CJ Stroud on Christmas. I think they figured it out. All right. We got the next game here. We got 49ers at Minnesota. The Vikings are home. The 49ers are favored by 5.5. The implied score is Niners 26, Vikings 21. I feel like the question here, I mean, DK, do you think Christian McCaffrey will ever play football again?
That is the question, isn't it? It doesn't seem like they'd have no reason to rush him. I'll put it that way. Why would they rush him back?
Yeah, I mean, again, I already said, like, I feel like the Niners could not play him a snap in the regular season. They make the playoffs. Here's a crazy question.
Like, Jordan Mason looked awesome.
28 carries. I love how much ESPN really leaned into the most since high school. That was funny. But someone emailed us. This was crazy. Someone emailed us and said that they had added Jordan Mason on waivers. Obviously, the backup running back for the Niners who had a career day on Monday Night Football. They added Jordan Mason on waivers. And the guy in the league who had Christian McCaffrey texted him and offered him Christian McCaffrey for Jordan Mason.
Really?
It's a fascinating question.
If two guys in your league made this trade, like if you just saw in your group chat that someone had just traded McCaffrey for Jordan Mason, Craig, like literally, what would you say? What would you literally write?
I would rather have McCaffrey still, to be honest. I respect this trade and I would allow it because I think it's hilarious. But
not trying to get sixth place.
Yeah, I mean, like even if they sat McCaffrey a month, I don't think McCaffrey's going to miss the majority of the season with this injury. So I would still rather have McCaffrey over Jordan Mason.
That's what people come here for. But no, I totally agree. I think it's just crazy that like people are panicking. So I think number one, check in on the people in your leagues who have McCaffrey. I think the reason that they should, I think McCaffrey's going to want to play because he's a psychopath. But like no one got to the NFL but not want to be on the field. But again, the thing with the McCaffrey situation, there's no test to tell Christian McCaffrey is back. There's nothing Christian McCaffrey can feel to tell other people he's healed. The only way to know if Christian McCaffrey's fully healed, and again, the calf, Achilles, how do you know if he comes back? Well, the answer is the only way to know is if Christian McCaffrey returns and he ruptures his Achilles or re-injures his calf, it was too soon. That's it. That's the only way. There's no other way to know that you were back. And so the answer is patience. So when Joe Burrow came back in week 1 last year, that wasn't enough time. Clearly, he had 82 yards in week 1. He shouldn't have played. So I think if you're the Niners, it makes a lot of sense to not just throw him out there 50%. Like I really think they should wait like weeks and just.
I agree.
So,
yeah. And they're gonna pretend and do the whole charade like he's gonna play.
He's already saying it. He's already said he feels great and he wants to play this week.
Yeah. just to make our lives more difficult.
Like maybe the second the guy's like, you know what, I think I feel okay. Maybe give it another week after that. Like it's not
exactly
like the moment the guy's like, I feel all right. Shanahan's like, back in, baby. Maybe
we can trust Shanny on this, can't we? Because he puts McCaffrey in during a blowout so he can get his touchdown or whatever.
You just beat the Jets by 20, and now you're playing the Vikings. Like, it's all right. Maybe give your guy a couple weeks. You're one of the best teams in the league.
Totally agree. Okay, well, while we're here with Niners Vikings, Sam Darnold, Vikings quarterback. I feel like this is like a real, like, okay, is he real or is it real and spectacular? Like last week, Giants, Darnold was spectacular. This week, it's like, okay, is this going to be real? Like, is this real or not? Because the Giants, Darnold started 10 for 10 to start the game. He had 3 touchdown passes. Sam Darnold was the second highest graded passer from Pro Football Focus last week. You could really make whatever you want of that, but it's pretty, I don't think that's happened before. What impressed me about him kicking the shit out of the Giants was Darnold, one, crushed from clean pockets, really punished them. But Dexter Lawrence, the Giants played great. And so whenever Darnold had pressure in his face, Darnold stepped up into a hit and made throws. Like he just made the throws. And honestly, it was really impressive. Like the touchdown he had to Jalen Naylor, he just stepped up and made the throw. Like I feel like the Jets Darnold would have panicked. And then this one actually was just new and very decisive and stuff. You do that against the Giants, cool. If Darnold does that this week against the Niners, I actually think that the Vikings actually will have something. I think that this is like going to be actually a very representative test.
I feel like this is what we do every time with Darnold. It's like he has a couple good games. He's put some together, and then we're like, oh, yeah, okay, I can see it. And then he turns into Darnold again and makes awful decisions, and he like spirals. He basically, his bad decisions snowball, and that's like the worst thing you can have with a quarterback. You have to have a quarterback that has a really short memory because mistakes will be made. But I think that's like always been the thing with Darnold is he like will make a mistake and then it just spirals out of control. Do you remember like the first 5 games or whatever it was when he was with Carolina and he ran for a bunch of touchdowns. He was like the QB3 after like 4 weeks. And then, you know, we all remember how that ended up going.
But do you really think that that's similar to this? Like Sam Darnold scrambling in for touchdowns for Carolina and just
But he was protecting the football in those times too. I don't know. Like I just feel like
also, the situations, I agree with both of you. One side, it's like in Carolina, who is his coach? Matt Rule? Who is he throwing to? And now he has Kevin O'Connell, who's like one of the best quarterback gurus in the league, it seems, and he has Justin Jefferson.
Right.
But also, like DK said, this is kind of like backup QB syndrome. They always play well for 2 weeks. People figure it out, and then it ends.
Remember Mike White?
Yeah.
What's he doing?
We've done this 1,000 times. Josh Dobbs on the Vikings.
Now the third string quarterback.
There goes Sam Darnold. Your life has been lived 1,000 times.
Yes.
It is weird. He just has more lives available to him because he was the former whatever second pick or first pick. What was it? First or second? I can't remember.
Second.
No,
second.
Third. What are we talking about? No, he's the third pick.
Whatever. He was the top.
Third, right.
You remember that time that the Giants took Saquon second in the draft?
Right.
The last team to ever take a running back in the top 2. Remember that? Yeah, that was cool. Also, it is funny that the Browns took Baker first, and then the Jets took Darnold third, and then the Panthers had both those guys at the same time, and then could have just kept either, and whatever. Funny. Okay. Next up here, we have the Colts are at the Packers this week. Packers are home. Colts are favored by 3. The implied score is Colts 22, Packers 18. Packers are down because Jordan Love had that MCL injury on the ridiculous field Friday night against the Eagles. Malik Willis is going to start for the Packers this week. Malik Willis has been on the Packers for 2.5 weeks. DK, I have yogurts in my fridge that have been there longer than Malik Willis has been in Green Bay.
Yeah. This is a tough situation. This is not the type of situation you want to be in for as a backup quarterback, especially one like Willis who takes an extraordinary amount of sacks and generally has not been any good at throwing the football in his career.
All right. Okay.
2 tough variables.
Take sacks, not good at throwing.
Yeah.
What else can you offer me?
Well,
I don't know. Heifetz, give me some shred of hope here because I just feel like it's going to be really ugly for the Packers offense.
I'm not giving you a shred of I'll shred
scared.
the hope.
I was shocked by this spread, man. The
Please
Colts
shred the hope.
3 points in this game. The Colts almost beat the Texans last week.
It's funny because it's kind of like the Colts probably have one of the worst secondaries in the league, and then if Malik Willis can shred the Colts secondary, the Colts are fucking toast because it's kind of like the worst quarterback you could throw out in week 2 imaginable. Like if you ask Matt LaFleur what his plan is this week, I feel like he'd pull out the Trump. Like I have concepts of a plan, But the Packers traded a 7th round pick for Malik Willis 18 days ago, which means the Titans were going to cut Malik Willis. So this guy who's going to get cut is now going to play for a team that he wasn't even good enough to play. He'd been there for years. And then now he's going to have to play for a different team at 18 days notice. Not good. I think
his sorry to interrupt you. His career sack rate is 17%. Like 10% is really bad. 17%. That's rough.
I mean, that's like 1 in 7 plays he's getting sacked.
It's almost 1 in
it's
5.
Like really very difficult to run an offense when you're getting sacked that much. And by the way, he has no touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
He started like one game in his career. It was against Houston, and then he went 14-23.
Why didn't they sign Ryan Tannehill? Why did they go get a veteran like Tannehill?
I feel like Tannehill. My guess is that Tannehill didn't want to be a backup unless there was like an opening. And also, I don't know what happens when people retire. They have different, but I feel like you'd rather wait for a situation and like come in and do the starter. It's like you didn't want to go into Green Bay and like
for like a month.
Well, I feel like you didn't want to go into Green Bay unless like to be a backup on this short notice or just be a backup in general. He probably wanted to play.
Don't think they would have brought him in to start over Malik Willis? You think he would have been a backup?
I don't want to pretend to know what Tannehill wants, but just again, generally speaking, I don't really understand how even a team like the Packers, who again have had a first-round pick at quarterback as their backup quarterback for years, clearly like understand the importance of backups more than anyone. Another backup I don't know. It's insane to me that this is happening. But overall, I think it's tough because if you have the Packers receivers, like if you have Romeo Doubs in fantasy, don't play him. His whole thing's chemistry with Jordan Love. I think Jaden Reed's a nightmare if you have him this week, just because Jaden Reed was the number. I don't know if we've ever had a situation where the number one receiver from a week in fantasy that wasn't like a fluke where like that guy's totally legit. And the next week we're like, do you even play this guy? Because he's the word. And so on one hand, I'm like, you can if you lower your expectations because the Packers are going to have to script the ball into Jaden Reed's hands. They gave him almost like Cooper Kupp. They give him jet sweeps. They give him all this stuff to script the ball in his hands.
He feels like the easiest guy to get the ball to.
Yeah. And I don't know what he's going to do with it.
They would spam that last year a bunch of times. Like, it's like, all right, you can stop running end rounds. That's just one too many. But yeah, that's a very interesting point. It's like he's going to get tons of manufactured touches. The problem is like, are they ever going to be within scoring distance? And again, like I was just looking at the sack rates from last year. Remember, like Justin Fields, the big thing, takes way too many sacks. Like one of the worst guys in terms of taking sacks. His sack rate last year was 10%. He's like, that's like almost Malik Willis is like almost doubles that. So that's going to be. It's just gonna be tough. I don't understand. Like Heifetz, you talked about this last pod. Why are they starting Malik Willis? Why don't they get some veteran?
I don't understand why Ryan Tannehill's not starting this week.
The question to me isn't why didn't they sign Tannehill on 5 days notice? It's why did they go into the season knowing that they're back again?
Right.
If your backup quarterback isn't good enough to play, then just get a different one. That's what I don't understand.
But now we're here now. You know what I mean? It's like I agree with you. That's a good point. But now that Love is hurt and you're like, man, why do we have Malik Willis? It's like you can still do something. I would still rather have Ryan Tannehill on 6 days notice.
Yeah.
It's true. It is insane. And there's the Tennessee connection. So I don't know. Next game here. We got the Rams are at the Cardinals. The Cardinals are home. Cardinals are favored by 1. The implied score is Cardinals 26, Rams 25. So I think the Cardinals are favored because, the Rams are all right. As in the entire left side of the Rams offense is hurt. So now the Rams, they're all right because the Puka Nacua is on injured reserve with the PCL. The left tackle, Alaric Jackson, is suspended for the game. Backup left tackle Joe Noteboom sprained his ankles week to week. The Rams' third string left tackle is A.J.R. Curry, who I thought was fake. And then the Rams' left guard Steve Avila has a sprained MCL, and he did not miss an entire snap last season, and now he might have to go on IR. And then so the Rams are on their third string center, third string left tackle, backup option at left guard, also another backup game for the right tackle. It is week 2. So that's tough. My question is, going into Arizona,
it is tough. Yeah.
They're all right. My question is, given that, obviously, weird game. DK, do you play Marvin Harrison Jr. this week? You took him in the second round. He had 1 catch. He's a rookie. He's never done anything in the NFL. How, like
the vibes are out of control bad with this guy already. It's just wild. He had an awful first week. I don't know exactly what would he have, like 1 catch for 3 yards or something like that. He also had, according to Fantasy Points, the worst separation score among all rookie receivers. He was very slow. According to all the like tracking metrics, he was the slowest receiver in week 1. But yeah, I think you have to play him. I mean, all that stuff said, you have to play him still, don't you? Or do you not?
In the same way that DK was like, look, they keep giving Sam Darnold jobs because he was the 3rd overall pick. Like, if you draft Marvin Harrison Jr. like 21st overall in your draft, like there is some sunk cost fallacy to that. you're going to play this guy probably for a month before you consider benching him.
I think you can if you want. And it's like, oh, you have to play him. You don't have to do shit. It's a fake football team. You can do whatever you want. I think that like looking at Marvin Harrison,
just play him.
You do whatever the fuck. I say honestly, I would say two things. One, I think the speed stuff, all that stuff. I think those stats are totally out of context. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is not as fast as Malik Neighbors, but like that stuff it's the way it's measured. He's not the fucking second slowest person in the NFL. Like that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
And so Nate Tice, our buddy, he had a great breakdown of this. But basically, Marvin Harrison Jr. actually got a lot of respect from the Bills. The Bills played cloud coverage, and as we know, clouds weigh 1 million pounds or 1 billion pounds or whatever. And so basically, they actually
still doesn't make sense to me, but yeah.
The Bills put a safety over the top of Marvin Harrison, actually at the second highest rate in the NFL. They almost have 40% of their pass coverage, I think, was cloud coverage.
Oh, wow.
So, and I don't know, they made a very convincing point that basically it was actually a sign of respect that they kind of shut his ass down. And the types of routes he were running were the kind of routes where it's like, yeah, all right, you're not going to get that.
He just ran like deep hooks the whole game.
Which is actually like the biggest red flag. Not like the speed thing, he had a drop that was pretty egregious. Like the fact that they're running him on these lower probability deep plays is a little bit concerning, don't you think?
Yes. And so that's where I'd say, I think that people panicking about whether he's going to be bad or not, I think that's ridiculous. It's 1 week. It's his first game. Having said that, I do not think you need to, if you have Marvin Harrison Jr. and you're panicking a little, you do not, in my opinion, you do not need to feel guilty whatsoever about leaving someone on the bench until they have literally one good NFL game. Like you do not feel guilty. Like it's okay. If he goes off on your bench, awesome. Now you know you can play him the rest of the season. Because I think that like if you play him again and he sucks, I think that is like heartbreaking. Whereas if he goes off on your bench, you're like, okay, you know what? All right, now I know what I'm going to do. I like, at some level, this is simple. He's literally never played football. I think it's okay if you want to bench him. I'm not saying you should, but if you're like thinking about it, it's fine.
I don't know. If you spent $35 on him in a draft and it's week 2 and he's, I guess you have like Cortland Sutton on your bench. I mean, it's not like I'm assuming.
No, not Cortland Sutton. Xavier Worthy. I think you could play Xavier Worthy over Marvin Harrison Jr. if you really want to.
Yeah, sure. If you have like an absolutely electric fire plug on your bench who had an amazing week 1, sure. But I would say most people who spent $35 on Marvin Harrison, if you have some amazing guy on your bench, absolutely. But if you're kind of forcing it to bench him over a guy who's like pretty mediocre, I still think you play Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton, I would rather cut him than play him over Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that like Jamison Williams, if you have someone who really popped off.
Again, you're just totally picking legit. The 2 players who had like the best week 1. So I agree with you in that case. But if you have like an average player on your bench, like most people do, I would say you should still probably play Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know. DK, what do you think?
Let's go through here and pick the worst player you could start over Marvin Harrison Jr. and feel good about it. Are you starting... let's see here. Amari Cooper over Marvin Harrison.
No, because it's the same problem. He had like 1 catch at Deshaun Watson.
Like DK or Heifetz. I would say a lot of people have Brandon Cooks on their bench. Would you play Brandon Cooks over Marvin Harrison?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think a lot of people are in that scenario more than they are.
Right.
I have this amazing guy who put up 25 last week.
Here's a practical question. Greg Dortch or Marvin Harrison?
You got it to Marvin Harrison.
Dude,
my God.
Dude,
I know.
Dude.
But do you? Do you, Craig?
We might end up doing this every Friday for like 6 weeks. Would you rather start sit? Greg Dortch or Marvin Harrison?
All the defense is just giving cloud coverage and letting Dortch run free, you know? No, I don't know. I tend to think, this is what we do every week. We overreact to everything that happened last week. I think Marvin Harrison will be fine. Like, there's a reason he was, I think, literally number 1 on the freaks list for Bruce Feldman does this every year. It's not because he was unathletic. All right, he's fine.
You're the one who was making fun of him for being slow.
No, I was laughing about the fact that he was literally the slowest. Like, that's not a great look. But you know what? Maybe he was just a little nervous or something. I don't know. Like playing slow. Like he'll be fine. Nervous? He's not unathletic. So I don't know. I'm just like, this is the perfect time to buy low. Like people's opinion of Marvin Harrison Jr. has never been lower than this moment.
If he has another bad game, you should absolutely like start making fun of the person who has him, and then in the group chat, and then try to trade for him on the side.
Send out some trade offers because he's a good player and he's not unathletic. Like he's very fast.
All right, so there you go.
His stock. Bullocker, our prices have never been lower.
All right, next up,
The Office, if nobody knows that.
Steelers are at the Denver Broncos. Broncos are home. Steelers are favored by 2.5. The implied score is Steelers 20. Broncos are 17. Justin Fields probably going to start for Pittsburgh this week. We have Justin Fields ranked as our 13th quarterback this week. We have him behind Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy. We have him right ahead of Baker Mayfield and Matt Stafford. Frankly, it's hard to rank because Justin Fields, the upside when he's like rushing and comfortable in the offense. I told you guys the other day that Fields' rushing yards per game is in starts is 3 times higher in November than September. And I think there is something to that. So it's weird to put him here because it's like Baker could easily outdo Fields, but I don't know. Craig, how do you feel about Fields this week?
I actually think that the Steelers are going to run all over the Broncos. I think honestly, I'm weirdly confident about Pittsburgh this week. The spread 2.5, like I would absolutely take Pittsburgh in that regard. I think TJ Watt and the defense is going to terrorize Bo Nix, and that game it's going to be a mess for them in the offensive side. So I think much like last week, winning 18-10, like I think you could have another similar scenario. I think like Patrick Surtain on George Pickens could be really tough. He was awesome against DK Metcalf last week. And the Seahawks ran all over Denver. So I think Najee and Justin Fields, I think, are great starts this week, and I think they could run for 200 yards against Denver.
Damn. It's a lot of fucking yards.
Craig, what did you think of Fields' first performance? Because I saw this on PFF, I think graded him as like the 7th highest grade in week 1. Now there's like the context of that is like the way they grade is, you know, he's not making any bad throws necessarily or turnover.
It's like the Rotten
throws.
Tomatoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like my eyes told me he was not very good, but yet he did end up like making some good throws. He had 3 big time throws in that game, which I didn't realize.
It's also nice that he's got Pickens now, who just comes down with anything down the field. But I think Arthur Smith is using him well, where he's like rolling him out a lot. He's always making him throw like on the move, on a boot. Like he's not doing a lot of just like when he just sits in the pocket and like rips a pass. It's not great. But I think Smith in week 1 used him nicely. So
and there was like 0 pass attempts to the middle of the field too.
Yes.
So, but yeah, that's like why that, you know, the Pickens thing fits because Pickens is just like really good up the sideline. He's making these incredible catches. This week might not be the best week for Pickens, but I don't know. I'm just still trying to figure out if I want to be in on Fields or not.
I don't
know. Yeah.
Bucks are at the Lions this week. Lions are home. Lions are favored by 7.5. The implied scores Lions 29, Bucks 23. Lions 29 points, highest team total of any team this week. I feel like the line probably would have been 4.5, and then every defensive back, the Bucks lost in week 1. The line went up a point, so now it's 7.5. Bucks are out. You know, two cornerbacks. Antoine Winfield Jr. is might miss this game. I think this is the rainbow strip because the Bucks are going to the Lions are going to shred this Bucks defense without those guys. But then the Bucks, Mike Evans versus the Lions. I think that this is going to be even higher scoring than the divisional round. So
Lions are just fun. Feels like every Lions game is just a wonderful, like you love the offense and whoever's playing them is going to look good too. It's always going to be fun. I mean, second week in the row, the Lions have the highest total in the league.
You had the Lions were one of the most fun teams last year, and then now we have Jameson Williams like actually playing well. It's incredible. This is the most fun team. What do you guys think of the Jameson Williams thing with respect to like what it does for Amon-Ra, what it does for Laporta? Are we worried about that? Because I was looking at Fantasy Points has like first read or first read throws or whatever, and Jameson Williams was like up there. It was like 42-something%. And so he was like the target and the design of a lot of these plays. Are we starting to worry a little bit that Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta might have a big fall off because of Jameson Williams?
Not a big fall off, but I think a small fall off because I would say I believe in Jameson. I think that he's going to be incredible. I think that
he looked again so good.
If I may just grossly overreact to week 1 and watch him do nothing this week, but I think that after watching him play, even if he's not unreal in fantasy, I think that he's legit enough that like he will be the guy that teams are worried about coming into each week. I think he's an absolutely field stretching monster. Yeah. I get like it took a while, but I do actually believe in the thesis that the Lions were right to trade up for him. He looks unbelievable, and I think he's only going to get better. So yeah, I do think that's going to bleed a little bit at Amon-Ra Laporta. But I mean, I think the Lions are probably going to lead the league in points. So everyone's going to be eat. All right. Next up, we got Raiders are at the Ravens. Ravens are home. Ravens are favored by 9. The implied score is Ravens 26, Raiders 19. I think everyone in fantasy has the same question. DK, if you have Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, what the fuck do you do?
Oh, if you have both of them, that's an interesting question. I was going to say, I think you still play either of those guys if you have them on your team. If you have both of them, that I don't know the answer to. I would still lean Mark Andrews by a touch just because, like, if you look at the way they were utilized last week, Mark Andrews, more snaps, more routes. He's running more routes per team dropback, so he's out there running routes. It likely was still being used somewhat situationally, at least relative. Like they're both used a lot, which is great. But if you just look at the way the defense played, the way the Chiefs defense played the Ravens, they were doubling Mark Andrews every play. And that
Mark
was
Andrews was doubled more than he has ever been doubled since 2021.
Yeah. And I think a key point, so we have Mark Andrews as our 7th tight end. We have Isaiah Likely 10th. And if you're wondering how Mark Andrews could be 7th after that performance, we have Evan Ingram 8th, like as the 8th tight end. Evan Ingram had like 1 catch. A bunch of tight ends didn't do
just
that
us
well. So
trying not to overreact.
Exactly. And so I think that to your point, I do think
also there's no one to put ahead of these guys.
No.
Right.
They all
so
played bad last week.
Yeah,
I think part of the thing is the Chiefs understand intrinsically with Steve Spagnuolo on defense, because they have Mahomes, they understand intrinsically how important it is to shut down the pass. And I think that they're willing to give up on the run a little bit more strategically in Kansas City. Antonio Pierce with the Raiders, no fucking chance. Antonio Pierce is going to this game and like, I'm stopping Derrick Henry. Like, he's not letting Derrick Henry run all over him. I don't think he's going to be doubling Mark Andrews. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think Mark Andrews is going to have a much better situation in this game. So I think you play Mark Andrews. And, if Isaiah Likely does outdo Mark Andrews, then you take Mark Andrews out back and you shoot him.
How is Isaiah Likely not on the injury report this week, by the way? I was like, was that thing, did he just like knock the wind out of himself?
It might have been like a stunt. Who knows? Maybe that was pre-planned.
I think he was healed like Harry Potter in that first movie with the Quidditch, like his arm's broken and I don't know, someone just heals it. Like, I don't know.
Oh my God. Because that looked so brutal and he's not even on the injury report. It's like he didn't have anything.
Maybe they saw what the Niners got away with McCaffrey, and they're just like, we're just going to stop doing this.
I mean, it's Heifetz's rule. Look bad.
Yeah, look bad.
Means it's fine.
It's fine.
This is the tight end game, by the way, because I'm so excited about Brock Bowers already. I'm overreacting to week 1 because Brock Bowers looked like everything I expected him to be coming into the NFL, like the way that they were moving him around the formation, the way he was running routes, yards after the catch. He just looked very natural. And so I'm all in on Bowers. I just think this guy's awesome. I know that like the offense isn't good. And, generally speaking, Minshew has just not looked good in the preseason or in the week 1. But he's also a like veteran quarterback who's like going to attack that short and intermediate area. And that's where Brock Bowers is going to be feasting. And so I don't know. How are you guys feeling about Brock Bowers? Am I overreacting to like what he did in week 1 or are we pretty excited about him? Like basically doing what Laporta did last year, like immediately just hitting the ground running. I
think he looked really good. And I think he's like the one bright spot in this offense. I don't know. Minshew was able to keep somebody like Michael Pittman last year on the Colts afloat all year. Michael Pittman had over 100 catches last year. Devontae Adams, 31 years old, might not be on the Raiders at the end of the season. So I don't think there's any reason to think that the Brock Bowers thing isn't going to continue going well.
I think the same way that I'm like, would Marvin Harrison have gone as high in the draft as he did if his name was like Bill? I wonder, I think we all have undersold how good Brock Bowers is because the best tight end prospect since Kyle Pitts just doesn't hit. And so everyone kind of stopped selling him.
And he's balding. Yeah, really bad.
But that's a good sign because he's like doing interviews. His hair looks awful.
Ball.
All he does is care about, he doesn't care about image. It's great.
True football guy, yeah.
Football guy. No, I think Brock's actually incredible. Okay, next game here. We got the Browns are at the Jaguars. The Jags are home. Jags are favored by 3. The implied score is Jags 23, Browns 20. First of all, this game. The Jaguars' home field will be known as Trevor Bank Stadium for their home opener against the Jaguars. I'm reading from an ESPN thing. Like they're just naming, it's an Everbank sponsorship and they're naming it Trevor Bank.
Yeah, they're just putting TR in front of the Ever. So it's TREVER Bank Stadium. And Trevor Lawrence was interviewed and he was like, I don't like having too much of the spotlight with stuff like that, but it's a clever name. And I'm like, well, buddy, your name is now on the stadium. So I would say that's a lot of spotlight. I kind of think you can't do this unless you're good.
Yeah.
There's only a little problem, Happy. You're not any good.
Like if it was Mahomes Stadium and it was some corporate pun, totally fine. Josh Allen Stadium, totally fine. This is like when Baker started doing State Farm ads like a little too early. And we were like, hey man, I need to see it first. All right. Before you're the face of a brand.
They're literally 0-1. They lost last week.
To a division team after him. Or not a division team, but yeah, like
in-state team. Yeah.
In-state team. This is a weird move. I don't know. I don't like it at all.
Yeah. Not the worst PR for a quarterback in this game, though.
It's true.
So,
we don't want to name a stadium after Deshaun. So if I had to pick, I would pick Trevor to name a stadium.
I think, that's true. It's true. The bank could have picked the worst person. So that's
so
true.
many banks naming stadiums also.
Dude, I know.
I looked at all the stadium names because I was seeing if there was any puns that we could attach to quarterbacks. There's not. But man, a lot of banks.
Dude, banks make money.
Yeah.
Banks. This is good business.
Yeah, we should get into that.
Everyone's
we
like,
should
I'll
open
sell
a bank.
stuff. And banks are like, we'll hold all the money.
Should we open a
You
bank?
guys want to be bankers?
If anybody wants to send us their money, we'll hold on to it. We'll invest
Most
it.
of the time I see banks, they have like a lot of, they have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, vaults.
Vaults are
It's like
wild.
the wedding singer quote. He's like, I like money. I'd like to have more of it. That's where you come in. Just go to the bank. That's all you have to say.
All right. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints are at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are home. Cowboys are favored by 6. The implied score is Cowboys 26, Saints 20. Craig, the Saints offense went off last week. They scored 47 points, but Chris Olave only had 2 catches for 11 yards. Do you think Chris Olave's poor performance was a fart or a shart?
What a great tease for our Sunday night show.
Say it.
Say it, fart or shart. I think it's very possible that we see another fart, but not a shart out of Chris Olave.
Can you explain the difference for some people who may not be familiar?
Yeah, in graphic detail.
What's the difference between Olave farting and Olave sharting?
A fart's a one-time thing. It's not something you should be worried about. You can hide it. You don't have to be embarrassed about it. A shart, you need to go home. You need to change your underwear. I think
There's
people understand.
Consequences.
There are consequences. I don't know. I mean, Heifetz, you pointed out on Power Hour earlier this week, you were like, the Saints probably most likely still suck. The spread's only 6 in this game. I don't know, dude. The Cowboys kicked the shit out of the Browns. They're home now. They're playing the Saints, who have one of the worst O-lines in the league. Last week, the Browns had 17. I mean, the Cowboys had 17 hits on Deshaun Watson. He took 17 quarterback hits, which is the most a quarterback has been hit in a game since week 3 of 2006.
Holy shit.
And now they're going up against Derek Carr and the Saints offensive line. I think this game has a chance to also be 40-10. And maybe Olave will be a great buy low because I still think he's a good player. And I think, you know, when it's right, it'll work on that team. But I think this week could get ugly.
It was weird because they absolutely dominated last week against the Panthers, and Olave had 2 targets, 2 catches, 11 yards. According to fantasy points, he was at 4.9 expected PPR points, which was just behind Olamide Zaccheaus, who off the top of my head, I think he's on the Falcons. Maybe what team is this Olamide Zaccheaus on?
I thought he was on the Eagles.
Is he the number 3 receiver on the Eagles? No, he's on the Commanders.
Oh,
He was on the Eagles. I
they
think
traded him in the Dotson trade. No.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It doesn't matter.
It's literally, it doesn't matter.
You're proving my point. Just behind Olamide Zaccheaus, whose team we're uncertain of. So that's not great. I think you will be fine. I'm with you, Craig, but this is not a great matchup for
The
that.
Cowboys kicked the shit out of the people in the regular season, man. Last week, they killed the Giants 40-10, and then they beat the Jets the next week 30-10. Then the Browns are honestly the 2023 Jets, if you think about it. Great defense, worst quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
I think I'm convinced, Craig.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll have to throw a lot because they'll be down, and that'll end up like balancing it back out. But in general, I think it's going to be a tough game for Derek.
Gun to your head, Chris Olave, Harrison, or Greg Dortch?
Harrison. Come on.
Interesting. All right. Next up here, we have the Seahawks are at the New England Patriots. Patriots are home. Seahawks are favored by 3.5. The implied score is Seahawks 21, Patriots 18. DK.
Yeah.
Vibes heading into this game.
I don't know. I feel like this is a classic trap game for a team that just won in week 1. Now they have to go over to the East Coast, play a good defense at 10 o'clock in the morning against like a mediocre at best quarterback. This is the type of game the Seahawks usually lose. So I'm kind of like worried about it. But at the same time, I was very encouraged that the Seahawks run defense got better compared to last year. So I have like kind of low hopes, but you know, it'll be a good test for the Seahawks who are facing a very good defense.
Are the Patriots the trap team of the year? They're like the Bermuda Triangle. It's just like whoever flies up to New England for a week, it's like, this is exactly the type of game that my team will lose.
100%.
Bermuda Triangle. Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. I know there's a lot of people from Massachusetts here. Pitch us on which town should replace the Bermuda in the Triangle. Like, is it like the Hingham Triangle or is it like the Needham Triangle? Pitch us what the name of the, it's not
Foxborough Triangle.
By the way, did people stop disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle? Haven't heard anything about
that's
that
just
in a
an
while.
old wives' tale.
Yeah, I think it was like hurricanes and we just know when those are coming now. So I think we figured that out. Actually, forget the Fox. Email us about the Bermuda Triangle, please.
I want some,
gmail.com.
Bermuda
There
Triangle
hasn't been a
facts.
story about the Bermuda Triangle in 2 decades.
It's like
No,
quicksand.
that was like
when
a
I was growing
scary
up,
thing when I was growing up.
And
Yeah.
now it's just like, oh yeah.
quicksand and the Bermuda Triangle, I thought were huge deals I'd have to deal with as an adult.
The two
and now I'm an
things
adult.
you're really afraid of as a kid.
Yeah, they don't even come up.
You're so right, dude. The Bermuda Triangle was like my Roman Empire when I was 8 years old.
Yeah. I'm like, damn. Anyway.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, next up. The Chargers are at the Carolina Panthers. Panthers are home. Chargers are favored by 6. That doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like the Chargers are going to win this by 14. A Jim Harbaugh team versus a Dave Canales team. Khalil Mack going against Bryce Young. I don't know. I feel like this could get ugly.
The Panthers got cooked on the ground last week by the Saints. 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 37 carries. Well, that is like not good if you're going against the Chargers, who just want to run, have a very good offensive line. I'm very curious to see how Dobbins does in week 2 because obviously Dobbins had by far the most yards and explosive plays, and he looked awesome. But like if you look at the utilization, it was like almost equal for both of these guys. Like almost the same amount of snaps, basically. Very similar touches. Dobbins had 13, Gus had 12. Dobbins just ripped off a couple of big plays and got to play on 3rd down. And by the way, Derek Brown is out for the year on injured reserve, and he was like the Panthers' best defensive front guy. So I don't know. The Chargers are just going to run the hell out of the ball, but I'm very curious to see how this Dobbins Gus thing kind of like plays out.
Does any part of you guys think that we're like the Dobbins thing, we might be a little too high on him, just like across the board right now in fantasy? Like, how many carries does Dobbins need to get for you to feel comfortable starting him? Like, if I was like, he's going to get 10 carries in this game, are you like, great, no problem? Or does he really need like 15, which he's probably not going to get?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think against this particular team, I think 10 is like, okay, that's fine, especially if he gets a couple targets and catches, because he had 3 catches last week too. Right. So, it's tough. This is like the potential to be one of the biggest overreactions from week 1, the Dobbins thing. I think I'm cognizant of that.
The difference to keep in mind is the Raiders' defensive line is Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, and the Panthers are the worst defensive line in the NFL. And so, I think that's a fair question for future weeks, but I think the Chargers are going to like pave the Panthers like a road.
So you think even if this is a split again, you're comfortable? Can we do quick name game for J.K. Dobbins?
Sure.
Yeah.
Quick name game. J.K. Dobbins or Tony Pollard?
Tony Pollard.
DK, do you agree?
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins or Najee Harris?
Dobbins.
This week, I think I go Najee.
Okay. J.K. Dobbins or David Montgomery?
Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Robinson.
That's where it starts to get pretty close, doesn't it?
Aaron Jones.
You can still play Aaron Jones, but it's a similar thing. They're probably getting 10 to 15 touches.
All right. So, in our rankings, we have him as a fringe top 20 guy, right around that top 20 range. Basically, like, it can be a starter, but not guaranteed, depending on your roster.
Yeah. And again, our rankings are fantasyfootball.theringer.com. We have our week 2 rankings, start sit, and we update those Sunday mornings. So check those out for specific
So does that mean
stuff.
we should probably drop him down a bit based on that name game that we just played?
I'm keeping them high. I'm higher than you guys.
Okay.
Jets are at the Tennessee Titans. Titans are home. Jets are favored. Implied scores Jets 23, Titans 19. I mean, Will Levis versus the Jets defense. Bless your heart, Will. And then with Rodgers, like we'll see. We'll see if Rodgers looks less rusty this week. But I mean, obviously, the Titans aren't the Niners. I think the Titans might be good, but I think the Jets will be fine.
This is this is actually more of a pass into the Italians offense than the Dolphins, in my opinion, because the Dolphins like technically throw to 3 people a lot now. Rodgers only throws to Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. The first 14 plays of the game went to Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson.
Rodgers only completed passes to 3 people in this game: Breece, Garrett Wilson, and Allen Lazard. Fewest people Rodgers has completed passes to in a game in like a dozen years.
Yeah, like it's just Breece and Garrett.
What do we do with Lazard? That's my question.
You ignore it.
I don't understand him, and I won't acknowledge him.
I agree.
Normally, I would completely agree with that.
He also caught a garbage time touchdown.
I know. Well, he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The other was a free play off the false start. Like they literally had to draw Bosa off sides to get the touchdown.
The only reason I'm slightly intrigued by Lazard, and I'm not like necessarily saying you should start him this week. Probably better to wait and like see how it all shakes out. But like. The Rodgers throwing to his best friends thing is like a real thing. And Lazard is like his only friend. not true, but you know what I mean.
You could really
Here's
compile
Pat
a team of
McAfee.
like best friends. You could do like Cup to Stafford. You have Dell to Stroud. You have Lazard to Rodgers. There's a lot of best friends in the league you can draft.
Best friends.
F is for
Anyways,
friendship. All right, next up. Giants are at Washington. Washington's home. Washington's favored by 1.5. Implied scores Washington 23, Giants are 21. My brother's trying to get me to go to this game. And I'm like, fuck that. This team sucks. I don't want to see them lose. You're going to go all the way.
you do want to
this,
see him lose, though.
I got to go all the way to this awful stadium to sit around a bunch of Washington fans to like either watch the Giants win and be happy, but then actually it's worse, or like what or maybe hey, I'll see their only win all year, or like watch them get blown out by Washington. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to
It's a lose-lose situation. Yeah.
Giants are awful. So we have Jaden Daniels this week ranked, just for people to know, number 6 quarterback. The only guys we have ahead of Jaden Daniels are Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Anthony Richardson, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that's a fluke. I don't think it's an overreaction to week 1. I think that's going to be status quo going forward. Rewatching that game, like Jaden Daniels, it is crazy how easily he gets out of the pocket. I think it's going to be like a big 6 at quarterback. So
yeah, he runs a lot.
He's really good at it.
That's important.
All right. Sunday Night Football. The Bears are at the Texans. Texans are home. Texans are favored by 6.5. Implied scores Texans 26, Bears 20. Houston shredded the Colts defense last week, but Colts defense sucks. I feel like this is the first real test for this new Texans offense, and running with Mixon and everything. I think we'll see. And then obviously Caleb Williams. It's debutante ball, second try. Kind of tripped down the staircase on last week, and we'll see if he can get.
Just refused to go out. Yeah.
DK, how are you feel about Caleb?
God, I mean, I'm still confident that he's going to be good, but this is a tough matchup for them, I think. And I'm still very much on the fence about whether I think Shane Waldron is good or not. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, Caleb Williams missed some throws this last week, but I don't know. I just don't know if he's like in that offense is like perfectly built for him. So I'm worried.
Do you think at any point this season you will rank Caleb Williams over Jaden Daniels?
No. No, probably not. They were both really terrible at throwing the football in week 1, though. Jane Daniels at least.
To be fair, so are most of the quarterbacks in the NFL in week 1, but yeah.
Monday Night Football. The Atlanta Falcons are at the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly is home. Philly's favored by 6.5. The implied score is Eagles 27, Falcons 21. This is another one where you should probably Costanza me and go the other way, because I look at this and I'm like, Eagles are not going to stop at 27 points. I don't think Falcons are getting to 21.
Yeah.
This is like everything about this. I'm like, the Falcons should fucking lose this game. Yeah. I don't understand, because
they're going to get boat raced.
Bengals Falcons parlay. We should make it right now.
We should do it. Costanza parlay is Bengals Falcons, because it doesn't make any sense. Because I look at
Craig, write that down.
Write that down. But at least with the Bengals, I'm like, all right, you get it. It's Joe Burrow. I look at the Falcons. Kirk, of all the things in week 1 that you can overreact to, the problem with the Falcons was Kirk's mobility is shot. He's taking everything in shotgun. He clearly can't move. It's not like that's getting fixed in a week. So if the Eagles know all week, this guy can't fucking move. I feel like this whole offense is DOA. Like, you play Bijan Robinson because he's fine. He'll be fine. Everyone else, I'm like, I think I'd rather play. I have Drake London as like my 35th receiver this week, because until I see it from the Falcons, I don't know. It's like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis for the Eagles defensive line. I kind of feel like the Falcons are going to get rocked in this game.
They'll win by 3.
Yeah.
The NFL is so weird. Like, that is the only thing that I'm like, sure about.
Again, reminder, last year, Jordan Love came out hot. They kicked the shit out of the Bears 38-20 and then lost to Desmond Ridder the next week.
Dude, off topic. Well, not really, but like Quinyon Mitchell looked incredible in his first game. Love that guy. Just shouts to Quinyon.
The Giants, literally the Eagles having Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, just snagging them when they exactly needed 2 cornerbacks after they already got Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, who are the 2 best defensive tackles from that unbelievable Georgia team. It's so fucking annoying. Like, it's so annoying. It's
I was going to say, what's the emotion? Is this annoying?
It's so fucking dumb. And it replaced for me, the maddest I've been at the Eagles actually wasn't when they beat us 40-3 in the playoffs or whatever. It was when randomly their left guard got hurt and they replaced him with a first round left tackle, was their backup left guard. And I was like, holy shit. Like, this team just shits out first round offensive linemen on its goddamn bench.
It reminds me of how Heifetz, you talked about the 49ers being cursed and going into a year and they're going to suck the worst vibes of all time. And then they just absolutely demolish the Jets in week 1. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's super fun. Love that. I love that for me and my Seahawks.
All right. This is a different question for you guys. I had a conversation with Kai this week. We haven't talked about this. And I made a joke with Kai. I think I was talking about the Giants. And I was like, it's all downhill from here.
Mm-hmm.
And Kai admitted, and Kai said, I don't get that phrase. Because it's all downhill from here is negative, right? Like that's a bad thing.
But I see where you're going. It's easy to go downhill. It's hard to go uphill.
If we were walking, if we were on a hike, and I was like, oh, guys, it's all uphill from here. You're like, shit.
I mean, and people, the phrase like, oh, it's an uphill battle. That exists, which is a negative, has a negative connotation to it. So it's weird that you could say it's all downhill from here and it's an uphill battle from here, and both mean the same thing.
I never thought about that.
Maybe it's like you want to live up on the hill. I don't know.
Maybe.
Thanks, Greg.
Anyway.
That might be it.
Yeah. The case cracker.
Cool.
You know, I think they just like both make sense.
No, I'm looking this up right now, and there's a lot of people on like Reddit talking about how like this doesn't make any sense.
Oh, right now, what are you talking about? Like, there's a new.
It's all down. The phrase "it's all downhill from here" it's like contradictory. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, there you go. So it's all uphill from here, is what we should be saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe.
Couple emails before we get out of here. Jim. We
James.
asked if any
I don't know, Jim.
Got an email, Jim.
We asked if any TV intro songs were bad. TV intros.
Uh-huh.
Jimmy said Entourage's sucks.
Oh, he's so right.
And then I realized, I was like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I was like, I love that. And I was like, I was like 12 when I saw that the first time. It does suck.
Terrible.
You had terrible taste.
And they just get out of a car. Yeah. And I'm like, that's almost like an indictment, like 12-year-old Danny Heifetz like that. Like, that's pretty bad.
That's
is that
really
like,
funny.
who's that? Like Porno for Pyros, or who was that?
I don't know.
Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
And they just get out of the car, and the cool thing's the car opens with the two doors in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's the whole bit.
I want to be your superhero.
Yeah.
That's a great call, Jim. Jim.
Very good call. I had a buddy text me that, have you guys ever watched Slow Horses?
Yeah.
No, I need to.
The intro song for Slow Horses.
Wait, can you explain?
Pretty bad.
The pitch for Slow Horses is as funny as you told it to me. The like tagline of what the show is as funny as a show I've heard.
It's like the Slow Horses are the reject spies who got in trouble for whatever reason from like MI5 or MI6.
It's like all the 007s who fucked up.
Yeah, all the bad
like
spies.
If you suck at being a spy, or if you're like a fuck up, then you get sent to Slough House, which is run by like a former spy, like a really good former spy. And shoot, I'm forgetting his name.
Gary Oldman, yeah.
And who was on? Was it The Watch this week? Prestige TV.
Oh my God, was he?
Kai produced the show with Gary Oldman this week. What was it, Kai?
Yeah, we had Gary on.
We had Gary Oldman on.
Gary Oldman,
Prestige TV,
sick dude.
That's cool.
I tweeted earlier like a screenshot of because I saw it when I was uploading it, and it was just like one line was guest Gary Oldman, the next one was producer Kai Grady, and I was just like, this is going up on my wall. Like that
makes it all worth it.
It's
like when we were on the pod
awesome.
with Adam Sandler, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
How was he off mic, off camera? Was he cool?
It was a very quick in and out junket interview. Didn't get the pleasure, unfortunately. Right. But he was a delight. Definitely
should have been like, hey, can you give me like one tip for acting?
Hi, have you ever seen the movie True Romance?
I haven't.
Written by Quentin Tarantino. You should Google Gary Oldman True Romance.
Okay, I will. He's like the king of just unrecognizable. Sirius Black, Commissioner Gordon, Slough House, or Slow Horses, but.
Winston Churchill.
Yeah, he's in Oppenheimer.
like a bigger guy. He like gained a bunch of weight for that, didn't he?
True. That's Gary Oldman. He
Leon
looks like
the
James
Professional.
Franco.
Austin just pointed this out. Leon the Professional, one of the better
that's a good one.
roles of all time. Everyone.
Wait, Gary Oldman in True Romance looks like the James
this.
Franco character when what's the movie where he's like the weird
Spring Breakers.
Spring Breakers. Oh my God.
One of my favorite movies is Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and he is great in that as well.
I mean, he's just one of the goated actors. He's the best.
Anyway, Slow Horses intro music, not great. And it's like very jarring.
I can't even think of it.
Going from the show
well, all the
to
spies
the song.
are bad. That's the point. It's
I disagree. I love it. It's so good.
I'm watching Veep now. Veep is the most concise intro ever because the entire prologue of Veep is told in 10 seconds with no words. It's perfect. It's like 5 newspaper headlines with a graph. And
Yeah,
it's 10
some shows
seconds.
decided to go real quick. Like Breaking Bad's is quick, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like that one little intro shot of the element.
You know what song I realized, or show I realized had a great intro that like really matched like the vibes and the theme of the show was Luther. Did you guys ever watch Luther?
Oh, Luther's great. So good.
Kai knows what's up.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a great
you remember
intro.
the song?
Yeah.
It's like perfect. It's perfect for the show.
Yep.
All right. Let's get out of here. Thank you. Kai, stick around. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Kai, for producing this episode. Thank you, Carlos, for producing this episode. Thank you, Kiera. Thank you, everyone, for helping behind the scenes. Thank you, Gary Oldman. Coming on the Ringer Podcast Network, baby. Thank you.
Gary.
Go to our rankings, our start-sit rankings are at fantasyfootball.theringer.com. You can click on multiple positions. If you want to merge running backs and receivers, you can do that. Check it on mobile. We update that as well Sunday mornings, so you can check that for start-sit. Fantasyfootball.theringer.com. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Massive Attack, who is the band that sings Paradise Circus, which is the song intro for Luther.
Oh,
Nice.
I
Look it
wanted
up.
you to name Riff Raff.
Okay, what's that?
That's the rapper who like Franco looks like in Spring
Yeah.
Breakers and
Jo-
kind of Gary Oldman. In
Jody
Oh,
High Roller.
Okay.
Yeah, Jody High Roller. Yeah.
I really, damn. I'm realizing now how much of like the Jane's Addiction entourage was really symptomatic of how I had no taste at 13 years old.
That was
Yeah.
ground zero for your bad
Dude,
music taste.
Wearing cargo shorts and Merrells.
Capris.
Heifetz, that
Yeah.
reminds me. Do you remember Pauly Shore?
Oh, the Jersey Shore guy?
No.
No, but that
Oh.
does sound right. But no, he was like a comedian from like the early 90s, I think, maybe. He's just like super weird. He did a bunch of movies, including Jury Duty. Craig, have you ever seen this?
No.
Oh my God. So I thought it was like so funny when I was growing up.
I just realized that I have heard of Pauly Shore, and every time I've ever heard the name Pauly Shore, I thought it was DJ Pauly D from Jersey Shore. And I just
I mean,
thought
that
that's
makes
who
sense.
Pauly
Yeah, I
Shore
mean, you
was.
combine two things that, yeah.
I think Pauly Shore, like, he was big on like MTV early on.
Yeah.
He was like a host from something there. I can't even
To be
remember.
honest, I think he was slightly before Heifetz and my time.
Yeah, because the Jury Duty was 1995.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought it was freaking hilarious when I was like in 8th grade. And then I went back and rewatched it recently. I was like, oh my God, this
Terrible.
is so bad.
Isn't he in
It's so
Encino Man?
incredibly bad. Yeah, I think so. I don't think I ever saw Encino Man, even though that was like a huge hit when
He
I was
co-founded
that age.
the Comedy Store in LA? Wow.
Oh, I don't
Damn.
even think I knew that.
That's crazy.
So he was in, Encino Man. Son-in-Law was, I think, one of like the movies that sort of made him a big deal. And Jury Duty, Biodome. You remember that?
I have not seen those.
Biodome came out when we were 1. He was 1 year
Biodome.
old.
What year was that?
Biodome's pretty bad too.
96.
Oh, so it's 2 years until I was born. We're close.
Stephen Baldwin.
Damn.
Oh, In the Army Now was big for him too, I think.
Don't know that either.
Man, you guys, to be honest, didn't
This
miss
is
a
like,
lot.
tell us about the war, Grandpa. We missed a lot.
We should just do like a Pauly Shore marathon and
I don't
see
know
how
why-
terrible they aged.
You asking, remember that? So when on Sundays, I call my dad, we talk about like bets we want to make. And every fucking time, it doesn't matter. It's like sometimes, teams it's like Chiefs, Panthers. And he's like, do you think the Panthers have a shot? But he asked that for 16 games in a row. And it's his way of asking, what do you think? But it's so triggering to be like, of course they have a fucking shot. It's the definition of an outcome. Of course they have a shot to win the game. And something about you triggers me when you're like, hey, remember that?
Of course
the
I
movie
don't.
that came out before you were born? Remember that?
I mean, there's a lot of big, I don't know. Like if DK was like, have you seen The Godfather? I don't think you're allowed to be like, that came out 30 years before I was born.
Yeah, I know. But remember that? I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
remember that.
remember that? It's like-
remember that specifically is hard.
It's like Chris Farley interviewing, the Beatles.
Remember?
Do you remember when Paul McCartney? Do you remember when you were in the Beatles?
Damn, Pauly Shore's name is Pauly Shore. I
Wow.
would have put a lot of money on the fact that he changed that name. Wow.
Damn.
It's a great MTV name, Pauly
Like
Shore.
middle school me loved In the Army Now, Son-in-Law, Jury Duty, Biodome. Just couldn't get enough of that shit. And honestly, maybe some of the worst movies of all time. I don't know. People email and let me know. Am I wrong? Do they age well? Probably not.
I don't think they do. I haven't seen them, and I can tell you they don't. I've seen enough 80s and 90s movies.
I
I
can
know.
tell you they don't.
0 chance. All right. Goodbye, everyone.